everybody, it's Claire here from Sewn by Claire, and today I'm going to have a quick talk to you about something that I've been working on in the last few months. Now, I could say weeks and months then, but it kind of all merged into one. So you'll see I'm in a slightly different background here, and apologies if the sound's a bit echoey, if you can hear voices talking, but I'm actually at a local community centre, for want of a better word. It's run by the charity Age Concern, and what I've started is a stitch group here. So I've arrived a little bit early so that I can have a chat with you first and tell you all about it, because you may well wish that there was something similar in your area, and there might not be at the moment. But what I'm going to tell you about is a couple of projects I've been working on, which means that now we do have stitch groups in our area because I've set them up. So it's one of those situations, what's the phrase from that film? If you build it, they will come. So hopefully we will continue on for some time yet. But yeah, I just thought I'd bring you along and let you know what I did, how I went about it, and some tips and tricks for you if you think that you might quite like to start something of your own as well. So apologies if you see people walking past. It is in a shopping area, so you'll see people walking backwards and forwards. Okay, let's get started. So for me, joining a new area was something quite exciting, but also a little bit daunting, especially with the language barrier. So I am an English expat and I live in southern Spain on the Costa del Sol. I moved here permanently just under 7 years ago now, and I have used my love of stitching to engage with the local community. So what happened was that I looked out for groups that I could join after I moved here, hoping to find something already set up. And there was, excuse the it's me thinking as I'm talking to you, there were some groups set up, but they were mainly social groups and centred around eating and drinking. And whilst I enjoy both of those activities, then I didn't want it to be my sole focus being over here in Spain. And so I started also to look for some activity groups around stitching that I could join. Now, you may not have the language barrier in your area because everybody may speak the same language, or you might be multilingual, in which case, if you are, well done to you, because I know, trying to learn Spanish, how challenging that can be, but we persevere. And so yeah, it just brings an extra dynamic to trying to fit in that you don't have if everybody speaks English. So for me, the first thing I joined was a social group. There was a group, Ladies in Spain, and they had a local group down here. And so I joined that, and that did put me in the company of some like-minded people. Now, stitching, I don't know about you guys, but for stitching is one of those hobbies, pastimes that tends to run under the radar unless somebody notices something that you've made or compliments you in an outfit or on a make. And so it's not always easy to bring it into the conversation, really, and unless you're asking people about what they enjoy doing in their spare time. And so that's basically what I did when we were asked to do an introduction about ourselves. I basically said, hi, my name's Claire and I'm a stitchaholic. And that way it sort of broke the ice, really, as to putting it up there in central, because that accurately describes me, as you may have guessed already. So from then on, the group that I joined was a new group. So this is first tip: look for a social group in your area, because although they may not be about stitching to start off with, the chances are that there may be people in that group who are interested in stitching just as you are. So that's a way to start. Also, don't be put off by the language barrier, because with Google Translate on your phone, you can actually converse and make yourself understood in a variety of areas. Obviously, if it's just somebody just talking to you, then you might have problems understanding all of that. But if it's in a class environment and you are working on, encouraged to bring your own projects and work on your own projects, then you can certainly use your phone and Google Translate or some of the other apps in order to record what's being said to you and then have it relayed back to you in your own language, record your response and have it relayed back. That said, you do need an understanding teacher or learning provider who is going to support you and be patient and tolerant with you with that. Having said that, my Spanish has improved and my recall of words and ability to string sentences together has really improved since I've been working in that environment. So I was lucky to find somebody like that. But I started off with a social group. I started off with a local class and got to know the local area first before I sort of jumped in. Because sometimes it takes a little while to find out about these classes and places because sometimes they aren't always advertised, especially in the more rural areas. So just be aware, keep your eyes open. The other thing that you can do as well is quite often on Facebook, and I know it's had its negatives, it does have its negatives, but on something like Facebook, you can also join local groups, what's happening in whatever your area is, or those types of social and information groups. And sometimes on there you can find information, or you can post that you're a stitcher, and does anybody know of any groups in the area that you might be able to join. And sometimes people will join in with, well, I'm a stitcher too, but no, we don't have anything. Or they'll say, yes, there's a group on such and such a date and here's who to contact, which is all really, really helpful and useful. So that's another way that you can join. The other thing is to look out for local shops as well, selling the supplies that you need, because sometimes in the window, or if you speak to the person who owns the shop, they may be able to tell you as well about other people who are interested or other people who are making the groups. But let's just go through all of that and just assume for the moment that there are no groups in your area for your particular interest. In this case, it's stitching for me. And so you may start to think, well, I couldn't possibly set up a group of my own, but I'm going to say to you, why not? It's one of those things where everybody might be wishing or thinking the same, but having the confidence or even just a few organisational skills to help you get something set up will reap the rewards. So for me, I did know one or two people in the area, and in the groups I was in, I started to float the idea that I was wanting to start a group, and then suggestions came in. It wasn't necessarily about setting up the group or helping me to set up the group, but certainly it was about venues or potential places that we could hold a group. Because I was thinking originally maybe in the house, but then, you don't know who you're going to have turning up. And sometimes, especially over in Spain, it's apartment blocks, so it's difficult sometimes to give the exact location and to be able to find everything. So from that, I found this place, which is the Age Concern community room. And this is a fabulous room because it's all set up with toilets, with a kitchen area, with chairs and with tables. And they were only too happy to allow me to hold a group here. And the only stipulation was that they wanted it to be available to their members too. Well, that's fine. That's no problem to me. So that's what we ended up doing. So Age Concern advertised the group. I pop along on the chosen day. It's one day a month between the chosen hours. And then anybody can come along and bring their projects and sit in a social environment and stitch along too. So it's fairly simple. I didn't need any insurance. I don't need to be a teacher because it's peer-to-peer. So it's just if you see somebody's projects, oh, I like that, would you show me how to do it? Somebody then hopefully will say yes to you. Or if somebody gets stuck on a project, they can come along and they can have some help that way too. It does mean that you get a mix of abilities, you get a mix of ages, and you get a mix of personalities too. So at one stage we had people here from their 30s to their 90s coming along to the stitch group, but it was amazing how well everybody got on and were able to share their projects. So this group has been going now for over a year. We have a mix of numbers. I have a WhatsApp group that I use to let people know of the dates and when the change of dates are. and people can then, I use the set up a poll option on Facebook, and then people can tick yes or no, and so I know how many are coming each month. That said, because Age Concern advertise the group on their website, then I feel it's important for me to then honour that agreement. So even if nobody turns up, I will still be here just in case somebody does turn up who's just passing on the off chance and wants to say hello. So that's my commitment really, is one afternoon a month. I've set it up for 2 hours, and that seems to work really well. I did set it up to finish just after siesta finishes, in order that anybody who wanted to do any shopping, or if anybody wanted a drink or a bite to eat, then they could do that in the local village as well. And that seems to have worked fairly well. It does coincide with school coming out hours for the parking, but so far it hasn't meant that I haven't been able to park anywhere. So, you know, just bear in mind those sorts of things that might be happening locally to you, because that would be something to think about. But in this situation, the room is fabulous, and also it covers all the insurance. They've got all the insurance necessary for people being on their doorstep, because members of the public can come in at any time and get advice in the local area. It is an English speaking group at the moment. Obviously, if somebody turned up who was Spanish, we do have some Spanish speakers here, so they would be able to help translate. But then again, I would turn back to my little Spanish I have got, but it's growing every day, and also anything needed elsewhere would be on Google Translate, and we try to greet everybody with a really friendly smile and a really warm welcome if we can do, just to see if they would be interested in coming along. The only thing that Age Concern have asked for is a donation for attending. They set the amount, is €5 for a session, 2-hour session, and that is a straight donation that I collect in as the leader, and then pass on to Age Concern electronically, in order that they can add that to their coffers, and it just helps with the running of the hall, etc. I don't take any money at all for my time. It's all free as a volunteer. So it's just it's that kind of win-win situation really, whereby I get a group of people who are like-minded, who enjoy the same thing that I do. And obviously there has to be a bit of give and take on that, but also other people who are interested do get something out of it, and therefore they can turn up and so socially. That said, after a year, just over a year, probably 18 months now, I do need to do some advertising as well, because we have had numbers dwindle a little bit. So I intend to do some more advertising between now and Christmas in order to get that off the ground. Okay, so that was one little local group. So you can ask schools if you're able to use their premises after hours. You can ask shops, especially specialist shops like a stitching shop, a sewing shop, if they've got an area. Sometimes they have one for workshops, and it takes the responsibility away from the shop owner to have to put on the workshops all the time. And a social knit and natter, they call them stitch and bitch, don't they, as well, but we don't do much bitching. Stitch and bitch kind of classes, but that kind of social interaction, I just call it Stitch Club, and I think that works really well, because stitches can include cross stitch, knitting, crochet, sewing, embroidery. I've got some hard angle with me that I'm going to be doing from a recent class, but I'll talk more about that in a separate video. Anybody wants any help with dressmaking or any alterations, then you can always help. People bring all of their equipment with them, but we don't allow sewing machines. There isn't the room to set up for sewing machines here, so it is just anybody with something that they can do by hand projects. So knitting, crochet, embroidery, cross stitch, handheld patchwork, that kind of thing works really, really well and goes down well. So that's the group that I'm doing at Age Concern. Secondary to that, I have also set up a patchwork club as well in the local village. So this is a different premises to here. There is already a workshop space that is run by the local town hall, who again are a source of information and a source of potential venues for you. You can also look at libraries as well, can't you, that type of thing. And in that case, they actually are allowing me to use the room for free. I've got a set of keys, I can get in and out. And it's an amazing space where we can go and we are doing patchwork primarily, but there are also some ladies who wanted to learn crochet. It's open to ladies and men, but so far we've only got ladies attending. And we also then, I'm working on a community project. So let me just talk you through kind of my thought process for all of this. So when my sewing teacher, Marie-Thérèse, retired, I wanted to keep on that feeling of community that she brought to the village through her stitching, because just because her classes finished didn't mean that everybody's interest in stitching was going to finish. And so what I wanted was to carry on that local meeting place. In this case it's just weekly, and so that people could then work on their projects if they wanted to, or learn something new. So I attended those classes for 2 or 3 years, so I knew some of the faces anyway. The classes were all held in Spanish, and that helped my Spanish too, because I had to converse with the teacher as best as I could. And so I really found the classes very valuable in terms of integrating into the community, and it's lovely that now I can walk down the road in the village, and people will stop and say hello and ask how I am and pass the time of day with me. And I love that I've embraced the Spanish as well as the English people, or English speakers should I say, because just because they speak English doesn't mean to say they are English. There's lots of nationalities in the area in which I live, but English is the common language for most of it. Apart from the village, because it is Spanish mostly there. So there are expats from other countries as well as the Spanish nationals who are living there as well. That's what I was trying to say. So yeah, it's been a bit of a journey, and I just wanted to carry on that legacy really. And so, as you may have seen from my previous videos, I made the patchwork quilt for Marie-Thérèse's retirement, and that sort of got some word around, and I was working with a friend of mine called Lena. And she has helped me set up this patchwork club as well. There are a couple of other ladies as well who attend, who are also experienced patchworkers. And they also said to me, there isn't a club in the village, but if you start one, we will come. So sometimes it doesn't necessarily need lots and lots of people wanting to start a club. It just needs people who are interested in coming along. And so that's what I did. So I put together a bit of a sheet really that sort of detailed all of the information that I thought would be important to know. So I set down a date, a frequency, whether it wants to be monthly or weekly, and we're doing it weekly. For that one, the age concern one is monthly. Then also I thought about the time of day to do it as well. So I tried to catch people who were finishing work. So that one is actually 5 till 8. That was 3 hours weekly. And a good day that people could choose. And I spoke to the town hall, and as I say, they gifted me the space free of charge. So that's good news. But again, all the other rules apply that I spoke about earlier, about rules or suggestions really, about where you might be able to find somewhere that will host you and allow you to work with them. So I had to commit to the dates as well. Luckily Lena is going to cover for me whilst I travel to the UK on any occasions, and vice versa, Linda and Stephanie will step in as well to help me should I need it. So you've got the backup. Even though they didn't want to lead it, I've still got the backup, and that's really invaluable. That class is free of charge because the town hall are gifting the venue, so I don't need to charge anybody any money. However, I have put in place some things in order that it can be a bit income generating, just in order that we can self-sustain that group, because we're going to need equipment, we're going to need supplies, and all of that can come together from the members. After all, they're getting something for free that they hopefully enjoy. So my suggestion was, I've got a little donation tin that I put out at each of the weekly club meetings, and I've just suggested an amount of €1 per person per visit, if they don't mind popping that in, because there were 20 odd people who came along to an information evening. So I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. So yeah, so the money collected in that donation pot is purely voluntary. It isn't a stipulation that you've got to do it if you come to the club. It's just a voluntary thing that will help towards the cost. And some people are very good and very clear about, I'm just putting my money in, thank you very much. And other people do it when you're not looking. That's all fine. It doesn't matter to me. It's just a way to try and help. So once I'd got permission from the town hall, an agreement, and really support from the town hall. I've got a little bit of hair that just keeps going in my eyes. Apologies for me keep messing about with it, but I'm trying to get it out of the way. So yeah, once I got the agreement and support from the town hall, and we've got the venue and we've got the date, then I set about putting some information together for an information evening. Because one of the things that I have found over here, and I don't know whether your community is the same, is that you tend to get all the information piecemeal. Some people know some information, some people know all of it, and some people know the bare minimum. I always used to be one of the ones who knew the bare minimum, and so I needed some way to convey all of this information to other people, or the people who might be interested. So luckily there was a WhatsApp group for the previous sewing classes, so I was able to mention it in there. The town hall also put something on their website and on their Instagram pages, which was great, and on Facebook page as well, so that advertised it too. And we set up an information evening. So the 4 helpers, Lena, myself, Linda and Stephanie, we all had a table each, and we brought some of our past makes along, and I'll pop in some pictures for you where you can see the tables and what we put together. Linda and Stephanie often make their quilts for the local babies when they're being born, and friends and family, and they've gifted a lot of their, gifted the items away. But with me being in Spain, and then most of my family being in the UK, then I got quite a collection to put up and display. But it was just to sort of show the expertise, or loosely termed expertise, but the types of articles or makes that you could make with us, and the techniques that we've used before, in order that we could show you what to do if you wanted to come along. And the tables were very much enjoyed by everybody who attended, to see what was possible and see what things could be included. Obviously you can't start straight off making something like the Christmas quilt I'm making for Clementine, because that's an advanced sort of stage of quilting. However, smaller projects, a table runner, a mug rug, some little decorations and what have you, then those are much easier to put together and can form part of class. So we set up the information evening, and we had about 25 people turn up, which was great. I asked them to sign on to a list, so that I had a sheet of paper with me to capture the information and put together a list, and the telephone numbers. I also asked for them for permission to add them to the WhatsApp group as well, and so people were able to tick or to cross that. And then depending on numbers, we thought we might have to split the group into 2 1.5-hour sessions instead, because we'd only got a set number of chairs. So that was also something that I'd indicated on the form that they could tick as well. So we had the information evening, and I gave them all of the information that I'd got. So date, time, frequency, cost, venue. Also that I also shared with people that they could bring along their own projects to work on if they wanted to. That was one of the things that they wanted. So if they got a project that they hadn't finished yet that they wanted to finish, then they could bring that along with them. And it could be any of the things that I mentioned previously: cross stitch, sewing, dressmaking, quilting, patchwork, knitting, crochet, embroidery, anything along the fibre arts really, basically. And so anything with stitches is why I call it Stitch Club. And so that way then people could have a look and see there. But in case people needed direction, each week I'm also putting on a project as well. So I'll put a picture up here of the pumpkins that I've used, made some stuffed fabric pumpkins, because it's autumn when we started the group, in order that people had got a project that they could start to work on. And what I agreed with the town hall was that if I put together a kit for making that item, then I could charge a small amount for the materials for that, in order that I then wasn't out of pocket by donating all of my things. So we're going to have a weekly project as well. Then in addition to that, there's also a community project. And this was really quite dear to my heart, although we've not worked on it in the 2 weeks that we've had the group so far. So I think we'll do have a week, a month where we just work on that as well. And the idea behind that was that I thought that we would do a patchwork design by hand, because we don't have sewing machines currently, in order that people could have a project to work on if finances meant they couldn't buy a kit or they couldn't buy their materials for their own project. Then using the scraps that I've donated and the other helpers have donated to give us a start, we could put together a quilt top that was put together by hand. I'm using English paper piecing because it's nice and easy, and everybody can learn how to do that. And then the idea was to put together this quilt top, which would then be sandwiched and quilted and bound, again in group hopefully, and that would then be raffled in the future to again raise more funds for the group. So people had those three options: work on their own project, work on the weekly project, or work on the community project. And that way I hoped to make it as inclusive as possible, regardless of skill level, regardless of finances, and regardless of time, because people can just drop in and drop out again. So that's what we've been doing. That's why I suppose I've been a little bit quiet just recently. It's just taken some time just to put everything together and put the actual group on. But so far, so good. It's going well. And so I wanted to encourage you really that if you don't have a group in your area, take a deep breath and have a go and just see if you think there would be any interest in it at all. Because at the end of the day, I decided that if there was only me and one other person and we were happy to stitch together, then that would be enough of a starting point in order to put something on. Luckily, some more were interested. But you never know, numbers are going to ebb and flow throughout the year, and ebb and flow as interest grows and wanes. But that's okay, because I can still do a nudge and I can put a little notification on to say that the Stitch Club is still going, or the Patchwork Club is still going, depending on which one I'm talking about. And then more people can come along. And it's just to build that sense of community really, so that we've got a place where if there are any people, or there is anybody who wants to stitch with other people, that they can come along and get some help, some support, some sense of community from that. Because quite often we do sit in our sewing rooms all alone, and therefore it is nice to be around like-minded people and see their projects. So yeah, that's what I've been up to just recently, and those will be ongoing alongside my YouTube recording and my other family commitments as well, and trying to get to the gym as well. I've just been diagnosed with osteopenia, so I'm trying to do some gym work now to try and work with that as well, and hopefully head off osteoporosis from developing if I can do. Bit of a tall order, but we will do it. So if my recording is a little bit sporadic, then I apologise, but please bear with me. I will get onto the projects as soon as I can do. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there then for this little chat. It was just really a bit of an encouragement to set up a group. I mean, are there groups in your areas? I'm always happy to hear about what's happening with you guys and how everybody is doing, and what your groups and your community is like for sewing groups. But if anybody wants any support or to throw any ideas past me as well, then you absolutely can do in the in the comments below, or you can send me a private message if you wanted to. The email address is in the about section on my webpage, on my YouTube channel as well, so you can get in contact with me then. Okay, I'll leave it there for, it's nearly half an hour, isn't it? You know, it's amazing how much I can natter on when I want to, but for now I better get opened up for everybody arriving, and I will see you all soon. So take care everybody, and if you need any more help, just give me a shout. Take care, bye.